Think environmentally and plant responsibly is made possible through support provided by the Michigan Department of Agriculture and Rural Development Hort Fund and the Michigan Invasive Plant Council, presented by the Michigan State University Department of Horticulture.
As gardeners, we put time, effort, and care into the beautification of our yards. But how does what we plant in our gardens impact and influence areas beyond our property lines, our neighborhoods, communities, and areas beyond? Depending on where we live, certain plants may spread beyond boundaries and cause unforeseen problems. And these invasive plants can negatively impact the places we live, work, and play. Healthy environments depend on us, so we must learn to think environmentally and plant responsibly.
Invasive species can impact our enjoyment and use of our natural resources. For instance, they can crowd out our native wildlife habitat by displacing some of the native species that provide homes and food sources for our wildlife.
Invasive species and their spread impact us all, from the producers to the consumers.
They influence things like water quality.
They do damage to our natural ecology. They can present obstructions to our waterways.
And in our forests, invasive plants can actually inhibit tree regeneration.
They can present health hazards to people that are sensitive to them, and they can compromise our natural heritage.
State government has a collaborative relationship with the nursery and landscape industry. We do this to assure that quality material is sold in the state and also to protect that industry from exotic pests that may be introduced from elsewhere, invasive species. A good example is emerald ash borer. This was an invasive insect pest that made its way into the Midwest. It's destroyed entire neighborhoods, urban areas, caused significant economic loss for the nursery industry, for the homeowners, for cities due to loss of trees. I look at all of us as a team of stewards of the environment to protect the state's natural areas.
Natural areas are worth protecting because they directly affect our quality of life. The diversity within a natural environment includes plants, insects, animals, which all support us in the things that we do.
Whether we're recreating or bird watching, hunting, or fishing.
For general aesthetic purposes also, people enjoy getting out of urban environments and getting back in touch with nature.
Other contributions of natural environments are ecosystem services, which include air quality, water quality, and soil quality.
Invasive species can result in loss of revenue, loss of tourism opportunities, loss of job, loss of other species, endangered species in the environment. They can influence the entire fabric of our society.
Let's clear up the confusion that often surrounds invasive plants and the terms that are used in their discussions. First, what is an invasive plant or species?
As defined by the National Invasive Species Council, an invasive species is alien to an ecosystem and whose introduction causes or is likely to cause economic or environmental harm or harm to human health. An alien plant is a species living outside its native community. A native plant in one part of the United States can be an alien in another part. Examples of this in aquatic environments are with the Chinook and the coho salmon. While they are native in the Pacific Northwest, they are aliens in the Great Lakes. Harm is also an important term to clarify. Perceptions of harm caused by a plant are influenced by different values and management goals. Some plants are considered harmful and therefore invasive by some, while others consider them beneficial. A plant may be considered invasive in natural areas, but non-invasive and beneficial in gardens or landscapes. An example of this is turfgrass. In addition, a plant may be invasive in one part of the country, but not in another. English ivy is considered a good ground cover species in the Great Plains and Midwest, but is a highly invasive weed in the forests of the Pacific Northwest.
Next, let's talk about how plants move. Plants can spread through seeds, or by roots and underground stems. When plants spread naturally, these plant parts do so by wind, water, and wildlife. Or plants spread unnaturally by people and their activities. Spreading by human activities is more often a sanitation problem. For example, it's important to remove seeds and other plant parts attached to recreational vehicles, construction, and maintenance equipment. And to eliminate indiscriminate dumping to prevent the spread of plants into new areas. If the only way a plant can move into a new area is by people, the plant is not the problem, it's the activities of the people that is the issue. A plant's ability to travel naturally over long distances, establish and cause harm are important considerations in determining whether a plant is invasive. So a plant may not be considered truly invasive if its only means of dispersal is through human activity. Sometimes it really seems like those weeds are invading the garden, but invasiveness and weediness are not the same thing, and they are often confused. When a plant's seeds are dropped in close proximity and it does not travel long distances by natural means, the plant is weedy. The same is true for plants that do not send roots or underground stems over long distances, establish and cause harm. Sugar maple and Norway maple are prized and valued landscape trees. Seeds of sugar maple fall in close proximity to the tree and may cause seedlings to blanket the ground. This is not an issue in natural areas, but in a managed landscape, it may be weedy. Norway maple, an alien species, has the same behavior. It is adapted to urban and suburban conditions. This weedy characteristic could be considered an issue if the tree is planted close to a natural setting, but that is not the case in a managed landscape. Ostrich fern is a ground cover fern that spreads by underground stems beyond its bounds. It colonizes an area but does not travel long distances. Again, this is not a problem in its native environment, but it can be weedy in a garden setting. The last term to know is naturalization. Naturalization refers to a plant that spreads into a natural area, reproduces, and continues to grow without adversely impacting the environment. These plants integrate into existing communities and do not cause harm. Great examples in the Midwest are the herbaceous perennial Queen Anne's lace and the evergreen tree, Scotch pine. When planting our gardens, we need to be able to distinguish between naturalized plants and invasive plants. As thoughtful gardeners, remember these key concepts: invasiveness, harm, how plants move, weediness, and naturalization. These terms can be confusing to the gardening public, but start here. An invasive plant is an alien plant that spreads seeds or plant fragments naturally across long distances and causes harm. Weedy plants are not considered invasive.